aspirants, welcome back to another learning video. In today's video lecture, I'm going to look at a few important questions from Delhi University's previous year M.A English Entrance question paper. We've completely solved JNU's 2019 M.A English Entrance question paper. A lot of important ones from DU's 2018, from 2019, from 2020 question papers as well. All the links are provided in the description box given below. Alright, so now let's look at our question number 1. It says, read the passage given below and select the most appropriate option given in each case. Let's read the passage together. It says, mine, as becomes a woman, is a modest domestic program merely to restore India to her true position as supreme mistress in her own home, sole guardian of her vast resources, and sole dispenser of her own rich hospitalities as a loyal daughter of Bharat Mata. Therefore, it will be my lovely, though difficult task through the coming year to try to set my mother's house in order, to reconcile the tragic quarrels that threaten the integrity of her old history, joint family, the life of diverse communities and creeds, and to find an adequate place, purpose and recognition alike for the guests and the strangers within her gates. Now the question is, it says, this extract seeks to link dash. This extract seeks to link what now? So here the four options are: number 1, Indian aesthetics and Indian history; 2, Indian jingoism and British imperialism; 3, Indian nationalism and Indian feminism; and then 4, Indian nationalism and Indian history. Right, so if I have to give you a little background of this passage basically comes from this speech given by Sarojini Naidu in 1925 when she was elected as the member of Indian National Congress. So I now assume that you a little bit understand where this is basically coming from. And now with that kind of outlook, if we try looking at the 4 options that we have in front of us, I think it will become a lot more easier for us. So now if we look at option 1, it says Indian aesthetics and Indian history. Now aesthetics basically is associated to the idea of beauty, so we do not see that aesthetic reference here. So of course Indian history is involved, but then Indian aesthetics is not involved in this passage, so we completely rule out this option immediately. Now we look at option 2, it says Indian jingoism and British imperialism. Now jingoism is basically associated with a lot of patriotism. So of course nationalism is there, but then jingoism is not there. You do get the idea of imperialism, but not jingoism, right? So we rule out this option as well. Now if we look at option 3, it says Indian nationalism and Indian feminism. So of course I talked about the involvement of nationalism, which is very much out there, and Indian feminism, of course it's there, a lot of it is there. If you look at the first line, it says mine as becomes a woman, okay, and then she says is a modest domestic, she calls it domestic program, okay, merely to restore India to her true position as supreme mistress in her own home. So of course you see a lot of involvement of feminism, so this option we shall consider. And now if we look at option 4, which is Indian nationalism and Indian history, of course nationalism is there, Indian history is also involved, but then you cannot ignore the bigger picture when you say that feminism is also involved there, right? If you also look at the second paragraph, the second line there, where she says, therefore it will be my lovely though difficult task through the coming year to try to set my mother's house in order. So you see Naidu talking about setting her mother's house in order. So you do see a lot of involvement there. So of course now if we look at option 3, which is Indian nationalism and Indian feminism, this becomes the most appropriate option for this question. So the correct answer is option 3, Indian nationalism and Indian feminism. Alright, now let's look at question number 2. So the idea is that the passage remains the same. So it says, read the passage given below and select the most appropriate option given in each case. Mine, as becomes a woman, is a modest domestic program merely to restore India to her true position as supreme mistress in her own home, sole guardian of her vast resources, and sole dispenser of her own rich hospitalities as a loyal daughter of Bharat Mata. Therefore, it will be my lovely, though difficult task to the coming year to try to set my mother's house in order, to reconcile the tragic quarrels that threaten the integrity of her old history, joint family, the life of diverse communities and creeds, and to find an adequate place, purpose, and recognition alike for the guests and the strangers within her guests. So now here, this time the question is the centrality of domestic discourse within the freedom struggle may be seen from dash. Okay, may be seen from what now? Number one, the use of domestic space as an alibi within which to domicile nationalistic fervor. The use of domestic space as a trope within which to domicile nationalistic fervor. The use of domestic space as a pretext within which to domicile nationalistic fervor. Or the use of domestic space as an excuse within which to domicile nationalistic fervor. So if you look at the words like use of domestic space as an alibi, then trope, and then pretext, and then as an excuse, right? If you look at the first option wherein it says that the use of domestic space as an alibi. Now if you try figuring out the meaning of the word alibi, now alibi basically it's a kind of defense wherein you try to prove that, you know, I was in another place when so and so things happened, right? And Naidu in the speech is trying to do the same thing. Now if I have to help you understand that, if you look at the second paragraph where it says, therefore it will be my lovely though difficult task through the coming year to try to set my mother's house in order. Okay, to try to set my mother's house in order. So Naidu was maybe not there at that point in time, but now that she is back, she will try to set her mother's house in order. Now that she is elected as the president of Indian National Congress, she'll try to set back things for our country. Okay, so you see how she uses domestic space as an alibi. So wherein she tries to explain that, you know, maybe I was not there at that point in time, but now that I'm back, I will do everything for my country, right? And now if you look at option 2, which says that the use of domestic space as a trope, again, trope basically refers to use of metaphorical language here. Okay, so that of course is there, but then the alibi one is, you know, it has greater strength to it. And then if you look at as a pretext, no, it's not, you know, used as a pretext, or it is not used as an excuse. You know, she says that in her speech and she's very genuine about that. So, but then now if you go back and look at option 1, which is the use of domestic space as an alibi, it is the most appropriate option. So we mark option A for ourselves, that is the use of domestic space as an alibi within which to domicile nationalistic fervor. Alright, so now let's look at question number 3. It says, read the passage given below and select the most appropriate option given in each case. Mine, as becomes a woman, is a modest domestic program, merely to restore India to her true position as supreme mistress in her own home, sole guardian of her vast resources, and sole dispenser of her own rich hospitalities as a loyal daughter of Bharat Mata. Therefore, it will be my lovely, though difficult task through the coming year to try to set my mother's house in order, to reconcile the tragic quarrels that threaten the integrity of her old history, joint family, the life of diverse communities and creeds, and to find an adequate place, purpose, and recognition alike for the guests and the strangers within her gates. Now, our question is, the movement from domestic space to public space is signaled by the phrase dash. Now that's the keyword for us. Movement from domestic space to public space. We have 4 options. Option number 1, it says my mother's house in order. 2, to reconcile the tragic quarrels. 3, the mightiest of her children and foster children. Or 4, to find an adequate place, purpose, and recognition. The movement from domestic space to public space, a technique which was used by most of our post-independence nationalists. Now if we try going back If we look at this, again, the second paragraph, the second line, therefore it will be my lovely though difficult task through the coming year to try to set my mother's house in order. So from domestic space, okay, so mother's house, okay, so that's the domestic space, to public space. So mother's house, but then mother's house here stands for what? It stands for the country, it stands for India. So very much in sync with what the question asks. The movement from domestic to public space. Now, if you look at other options, the second is to reconcile the tragic quarrels. So, how do you move from domestic to public space? Or the mightiest of our children and foster children, again, the same question. Or to find an adequate place, purpose, and recognition. So, how do you, again, move from domestic space to public space? But then, if you look at option number 1, it is very evident. It is very much in sync with what the question asks, so that the movement from domestic space to public space. So the mother's house, she's calling it the mother's house. What is that? That is India. But then how she moves to a larger space, that is the country itself. So option 1, that is my mother's house in order, is the right answer for us. Right, so now let's look at one more question and then we wind up. It says, read the passage given below and select the most appropriate option given in each case. So again, the passage remains the same. It says, mine, as becomes a woman, is a modest domestic program merely to restore India to her true position as supreme mistress in her own home, sole guardian of her vast resources, and sole dispenser of her own rich hospitalities as the loyal daughter of Bharat Mata. Therefore, it will be my lovely, though difficult task through the coming year to try to set my mother's house in order, to reconcile the tragic quarrels that threaten the integrity of her old history, joint family, the life of diverse communities and creeds, and to find an adequate place, purpose, and recognition, alike for the guests and the strangers within her gates. Now here we have our question. So the question, it says, the use of domestic idiom to reconfigure public space suggests that early Indian feminism that early Indian feminism did what? Option A, embrace the opportunity offered by the freedom struggle to seek a new safety wall for itself. 2, embrace the opportunity offered by the freedom struggle to seek a new space for advertising itself. 3, embrace the opportunity offered by the freedom struggle to seek a new purpose for itself. Or 4th, embrace the opportunity offered by the freedom struggle to seek a new constituency for itself. See, in questions like these, your conceptual understanding is very important. How well do you understand literature? Is it there for you in books or something more than that? So that's important for us. This is what your examiners are actually looking for. So now if we look at the options, so it suggests that early Indian feminism stands for what? Or what it embraces here. Now if we look at our first option, embraces opportunity or embrace the opportunity offered by the freedom struggle to seek a new what? Safety wall for itself. And then in option 2 it says to seek a new space for advertising itself. And then in 3 it says to seek a new purpose of itself. So wait a minute, we'll look at that for a moment maybe. To seek a new purpose for itself. And then we go back to the question. Look at the question again. It says the use of domestic idiom to reconfigure public space suggests that early Indian feminism, early, look at the word. So when it starts, of course, you need a purpose, you need a goal. Only when you have a purpose, then of course you can build a safety wall for yourself. There's something that option 1 talks about. And then a new space for advertising yourself. There's something that option 2 talks about. And then option 4, to seek a new constituency, of course. That also you can build along when you have a purpose in mind. So when it says that early Indian feminism, so what do you need initially? You need a purpose. You need a goal. Right. Now, if you look at option 3, that is embrace the opportunity offered by the freedom struggle to seek a new purpose for itself. So the use of domestic idiom to reconfigure public space suggests that early Indian feminism embraced the opportunity offered by the freedom struggle to seek a new purpose for itself. So that becomes the right answer for us. Thank you so much for joining me to join our courses. You may log on to finlandacademy.com or call us at 88650 28865 for any queries. Thank you.